We're going to start looking at this version 2 of the zoo project by again looking at the animal class. This is going to be our base class, and we have 3 instance fields: name, weight, and food. Notice the underscore name, which is a kind of a standard that a lot of people use when naming class level variables. We have something new here. It's an animal type, an enumerated type, and that's where we get the animal type of mammal being 0 and reptile being 1. We have a constructor. That's a parameterized constructor. We have a destructor. Please notice it's a virtual destructor, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. We have your typical getters, and we have your setters, and we have our feeding an animal. And then we have a virtual animal type, get animal type. There are some comments here. This project was put together by one of our Shazam colleagues. And let's look at the comments to explain the code a little bit more. All of this code is available on course sites. So here we're going to make the base class destructor virtual, and that's going to ensure that a derived class is accessing a pointer to the base class. And when the object is destroyed, both the derived and the base class destructors are called. You saw that in action on our output here. That's what's causing both the mammal and the animal to be destroyed, which you want to have happen in C++ in order to clean up the memory when you're done with your project. The second comment here says if the method is virtual and it's called from a pointer, remember that this project is using pointers. We're going to point to an animal. The implementation that's used is going to be the object of the type pointed to. Without the virtual, if the method is called from a pointer to animal, the implementation from animal will be used. But we want to override that. So for example, when I'm using a reptile, I want this extra code here to be written, this information about the reptile for the temperature, for example. And so I need to use a virtual there to ensure that it's calling the code from the reptile and not from an animal class. If we take a look at the next comment, we have a pure virtual method, and that's what the assigned 0 means. If we uncomment it, which I've done, you're not going to be able to create an object of type animal. Animal is going to become what we call an abstract class. So this class we're looking at right now is going to be an abstract class. And the reason for that is we really don't ever want to make a generic animal, because inside the zoo there's all kinds of different classifications for the animals, and we need to know, whether it's a reptile or whether it's a mammal or whatever classification it might hold. And so we really don't ever want to use that generic animal class except as a base class to support our other more specific classes. The last comment here is gives you a link to a tutorial on c++.com, and so it's the virtual keyword is it allows a member of a derived class with the same name as the one in the base class to be appropriately called from a pointer. And more precisely, when the type of the pointer is a pointer to the base class, it's pointing to the object of the derived class. So even though I'm going to use pointers to animals, it's going to be actually pointing to a mammal or a reptile. The next video will take a look at the animal.cpp class and all of the other header and .cpp implementation files.